This is Mr. Hill with another linear relations tutorial. By the end of this video, students will apply data management techniques to investigate the relationship between two variables. They will demonstrate an understanding of a constant rate of change and its connection to linear relations. We will connect various representations of a linear relation and solve problems using the representations. Some of the specific expectations we'll be dealing with: we will pose problems, identify variables, and formulate hypotheses associated with relationships. And our sample problem that we'll be considering is the pizza problem. And the question we are asking: what does the cost per topping represent? And we're thinking about this idea of a relation, and we're always going to come back to that idea of a linear relation. And so what does the cost per topping represent? So this is the pizza problem again, and I just want to make note that we have changed it a little bit. So it's really important to read the problem and then read it again and highlight some of the important information. So Michael just got his first job at Michelli's Pizza. They are famous for making great slabs of pizza in Stony Creek. Their most popular pizza is an extra large pizza cut into 24 squares. They charge $14 for a cheese pizza and $2 for each additional topping. Michael's boss wants him to include the cost of a pizza for up to 5 toppings on the new menu so he can ensure the best customer service. Create a menu that includes the number of toppings and the cost of the pizza. How much is a pizza with 5 toppings? So let's read this again and highlight some of the important information. What are we doing here? What do we have and what are we doing? So Michael's first job, right? It's his first job at Michelli's Pizza. So they're famous for making great slabs of pizza in Stony Creek. Their most popular pizza is an extra large pizza cut into 24 squares. They charge $14, right? They charge $14 for a cheese pizza and $2 for each additional topping. Michael's boss wants him to include the cost of a pizza for up to 5 toppings on the new menu so he can ensure the best customer service. So what I want you to do is create a menu that includes the number of toppings. So we're going to create a menu and we're going to include the number of toppings and the cost of the pizza. And one of the last questions that I want you to answer is: how much is a 5-topping pizza? So let's begin. So one of the things this problem is asking us to do is to create a menu. So I grabbed an example of a menu off the internet in case you haven't seen one before. So let's look at how this menu organizes the information. So here we have a list, and then we have some costs right beside it. So this little list here is like a little description. And in this part of the list, we have the cost. And this information is organized into 2 columns, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rows. So this is really important because we need to choose the appropriate tool to make our menu. So let's think back to the tools that we learned at the beginning of this chapter. So what has columns and rows, right? Yeah, you're right. It looks like the table, right? The table might be the best choice for our menu. Let's see if we can organize our information in a way that'll help us create a nice menu. So let's see if we can start to create a menu. So one of the first things we need to ask is, well, what is the cost of a pizza start at? Okay, so we have $14 for a cheese pizza. And so a cheese pizza, we can say, well, how many toppings are on a cheese pizza? Well, we have 0 toppings. It's our base cost, our base pizza. I'm going to write that in because I think that's important. Our base cost. Okay, so we have $14, and that gets us 0 toppings. So let's add that to the table. So 0 toppings and $14. So how much does it cost for a pizza with 1 topping? So So if I have a one topping, okay, I need to add, well, the cost of one topping is, right, $2. Let's add $2. 14 plus 2 is 16. So if I add one topping, I need to add $2. I get $16. I actually don't have to write in this dollar sign because I said that this cost is represented in dollars, so I'm going to take that out. Now, what is the cost of a pizza with 2 toppings? So we're going to add one more topping. Well, if I add one more topping, I need to add $2. So I can say 14 plus 2 plus 2 is equal to 14 plus 2 plus 2 is equal to 18. So I get the same amount if I add 2 to $16. 16 plus 2 is 18. So you can keep going like this. If I have a 3-topping pizza, right, I'm adding one more topping. So I need to add, right, 1, 2, 3 toppings this time. 14 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2. And so you can either use your calculator or we can easily add 2 to 18. 18 plus 2 is 20. So both ways work here. We can keep adding, right, the number of toppings each time, right? Or we can use this little pattern that we've developed here to predict the next cost for the number of toppings in our table. So if I add one more topping, 3 plus 1 is 4. I can add $2 more. 20 plus 2 is 22. And the same goes for my last topping. So if I want to add one more topping to get 5, I can add $2 to get 22 plus 2 is 24. Okay, so now we have a nice table that lists all of the costs for each pizza for up to 5 toppings. Remember, up to, right? Up to means that we have to include a pizza with 5 toppings and then all the toppings before that. And so now we can answer the question, how much is a pizza with 5 toppings? Well, a pizza with 5 toppings is $24. So one thing I would encourage you to do is try to take this table and make a nice menu of it. This is nice and organized, but it's a little different than what we saw on the menu at the beginning of this video. So it's a fun task, and you can pretend you got a little chalkboard, and sometimes you see that when you walk into a restaurant. It's a little chalkboard, and you can write out and create a nice little menu for the number of toppings and the cost for each pizza based on the number of those toppings, and that'll be a nice fun task for you. Before we finish this video, I want to come back and I want to answer the original question that we started out with. We were asking the question, what does the cost per topping represent? And so you notice that as we added $2 to each row of the table, we found out our new cost. So we added the cost, right? We added the cost of a topping. So remember, what does that represent? I'm just going to use a nice color here. So remember, if we think back to our block pattern video, right, this number that we're adding, the same number that we're adding each time, represents our rate of change. And it's one of the things that that you can always see from reading a question, because it says, what is the cost of each topping? You might see it written as each additional topping. You might see the word per topping. But a great way to find your rate of change is by being able to see these keywords. And this rate of change is really important because it'll help us with coming up with a nice equation for this cost of a pizza. And we'll look at that as we look at some of the videos to come. So thank you for watching. And stay tuned, and we will continue to work on this problem, and I hope you create a nice little menu.